Previously on KSP POV. Hello and welcome back to another episode of KSP POV. As you can see, we've turned ourselves sideways, and as you may be able to hear, I have myself a new microphone. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be hopefully enjoyable. Hopefully y'all can hear me a little better now. So as you can see, our mission went sideways. So now we have to figure out what we're going to do from here. We could send a rescue mission for everybody, but we'll potentially lose the cost of the rocket at that, and that's not great, but it's better to keep our Kerbals alive, especially after the history that our space agency built on the bones of Kerbals. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to retract our landing gear in the hope that by retracting and extending them, it'll put us upright. It does put us upright, but then it flips us over to the other side. Too much momentum. And so we go ahead and fire to try to keep ourselves from falling right back over again. Then we don't fire enough. We don't get enough altitude, so when we end up hitting our retrograde hold, it doesn't quite save us. And you can see there I'm trying to burn just to manage myself, but all I'm doing is just putting more horizontal velocity. Now we're coming back down on our face. We're just trying to chase the marker up, and then this is where my computer freezes and I start really worrying, and I should, because we destroy one of our lander legs. So now, no matter what I do, this rocket's gonna lean off to one edge. So getting it back upright is starting to be less of a possibility. I think what I should have done instead of the landing gear is I should have used the communication dishes. Those would have popped up from the top, and that might have given us a better push. So now I'm face down on the surface of the mud, and I'm sliding. I think we're on a hill of sorts. Yep, our slope angle is pretty high. I keep trying to pop myself up in the air using my landing gear, but it's just not working. So before we do any more damage, we just try to bring ourselves to a halt and turn off SAFs. So now that the hatch is no longer obstructed, we're going to send one of our Kerbals out there to get some eyes on what's going on. Our camera's not giving us a lot of stuff. Look at that panic meter. Mostly wheeze, mostly fun, with a little bit of panic out of all of them. Our pilot Megcot kept calm and cool for the longest. But even she had a spike in her panic. So go ahead and get Meg cut out. It's a beautiful scene here on the Mun. If it wasn't for the toppled over spaceship, it would be a perfect image. So she goes ahead and leans into her own helmet, pulls out her flag, and declares this disaster zone. For some reason she decides to climb the flag. One thing we should have done that we didn't end up doing was grab a Munstone. We have a contract to bring one back with us, but after the calamity of what just happened, we got sidetracked and distracted, and we're focusing our next focus is to just bring these Kerbals home. So a little bit frustrated, I did this next maneuver in third person. Again, I probably shouldn't have, I apologize. I was just so stuck on getting the science done and then just trying to get ourselves upright. So apologies for the break in immersion here. So we're using our solar panels to push us upwards, but of course they're not directly centered, so it gives us a nice little spin. And by nice little spin, of course, that is sarcasm. So I try to use Mech Jeb to point ourselves up to maybe try to get some sort of control on the craft, but it is not working. Thankfully, we still have all of our engines. Otherwise, we'd really be spinning out of control. And without that landing gear, there's little hope for us to get it completely upright. And this tumble right here isn't very encouraging. Is it 2 of our landing gear we're missing? No, it's just the one. So I time warp a little bit to try to get myself straightened out and to stop flipping. And once again, we're in the IVA mode. Now that we've had a little bit of a distance between ourselves and the ground, we can regain control. So our apoapsis is rising. And we're just going to head home now. It's more important to get our Kerbals home safely. All 3 of them. We can't leave any more bodies on the mud. So we just point ourselves per grade, dip down a little bit to better circularize. Now we're going to just time warp up to our apoapsis, a little bit before our apoapsis, and burn prograde once more. I'm going to leave much of the return trip unedited. A lot of this is going to be not real time, but close enough to it. So I just circularize my burn. And we are in orbit again. Not a great orbit, but an orbit. Thankfully, we have plenty of delta V left. Not worried about that. So we go ahead and get our scientist out, just to collect any science that we can. For some reason, the Science Junior doesn't register any new science. In fact, none of them do, but I think I end up grabbing them automatically. I'm not sure. That shouldn't be a feature of X Science, but maybe it's doing that. I have to check it, but of course this episode was recorded before I figured that out, so it will be fixed in a upcoming episode. So I hate to say it, but now we're back in the safety of space. You know, we're not in danger of crashing into anything or destroying our engines. It's just ironic to think of space as safe. So we go ahead and point ourselves towards our maneuver and prepare ourselves. It's going to be a bit until we need to burn. But this burn will take us close. Our periapsis will be close to the top of the atmosphere, close to the Kármán line. We can see the moon, or the Mun, following us on our journey. And right here, everything freezes up for a second, and I believe that is because we make a small encounter. Doesn't really affect our trajectories, but an encounter nonetheless. So yeah, hello, welcome to another episode of KSP POV, where we play Kerbal Space Program in first person. Today we are trying to rescue 3 Kerbals from their own blunders. But it's not yet time to call the Blunderbirds. I think we can get them ourselves. So look at that fancy little trajectory that Flyby the Mun gave us. Practically no gravity assist, it doesn't do anything for us. We were hoping to catch an image of the Mun through the windows, but not so lucky. And we can even see the lights bouncing around. Nice view of, or not a view of the sun, but light from the sun is nice. It looks like there's another eclipse out there. Can't be a KSP POV episode without an eclipse. What would the world come to? So we time warp ourselves I don't like that it freezes up when changing the sphere of influence, but there's not really much we can do about that. I could have edited it out, you know, I'm sorry about that, but like I said, I wanted to leave most of this unedited, to just kind of complete the journey back with you. We'll do it together. So I get ready, and I want to make sure I kill off my time warp before I go past the node. I'm looking at that green number right there at the bottom, the node, the time to the node, and then I cut my burn time in half and start at that point. And here we are at the halfway point. So we go ahead and burn full throttle, all 5 engines. The thrust to weight ratio on this is pretty intense. So I get a little warning, but I'm not sure what that's all about. And we kill off the rest of our burn, bringing our periapsis down to a respectable 70, not 70, 37. I guess I decided to just go for it. And for some reason my vessel view is very small and at the bottom. I don't know why it glitched out that way. So I don't know why my orbit's freaking out like that either. All sorts of things going on. So we go ahead and plot a maneuver just before we enter the atmosphere, and we're pushing both retrograde and radial out to circularize our orbit around Kerbal while bringing our periapsis just below 42 kilometers, because I know that at that height that's a good enough angle to bring us in while still maximizing our aero braking forces. In case you might not know, you can add multiple directions to a maneuver. You can add both retrograde as well as normal, and well, you can do the retrograde or prograde, either one of those. You can do anti-normal. You can do all of them. And you know what it's going to do is it's just going to choose where your ship points to get all of them activated. So that's why we use the radial out as well as retrograde. And we're basically coming into a nice circularization. So I've got the transfer to the MUN blinking here. I feel like we're going to have another encounter with it, but I don't think it matters much if we do. It might just be reading the encounter that we'll have the second pass towards our apoapsis. And yeah, just a lot of waiting. Apparently I decided to play KSP in real time. So yeah, so we've got a day and 3 hours, so we're just gonna fast forward ourselves and make sure not to speed past our node, because it can be very easy, and especially since our periapsis is at 37 kilometers, that would very much probably break up our entire craft if we tried to time warp through the atmosphere that fast. So I'm very happy that I caught it when I did. Yep, our altitude is dropping, 200, 164, and then here we are making our burn. It's a relatively quick burn, all things considered. And I'm only going through the 4 tanks, I still have one whole stage left that we're going to end up just basically wasting, but it's the cost of doing business. It's the cost of spaceflight, at least in our program. I don't think we can get any more science from crashing pieces of our craft against the surface. I think we might have gotten everything. But then again, I had an engineer set up the seismographer and not a scientist, which is the ideal person to set it up. So maybe if I go out there and switch them out, we might have a different story. So that little beep beep was us running out of fuel in the side booster stages. So we go ahead and stage those off. I tried to catch a glimpse of them, but they disappeared before I could really zoom in. And since we're ready to come in, we just go ahead and stage off that other booster as well. Our vessel view is still not showing up correctly. I try to fiddle around with it to see if I can get it correctly, but get it to correct. See if I can get it working correctly. Those are the words that I don't know if you've noticed, but I have a tendency to mispronounce a lot of things. I don't mean to. I'm just thinking so fast sometimes as I'm recording these, because everything's moving so quickly, and I'm just trying to keep up and watch this after the fact and do the voice recording. So as you can see here, on this one the vessel view worked out. Oh, that's disco mode. It's pretty interesting, but the vessel view on that worked out, which is good, because we like to see the vessel view to make sure that not only is our craft fully stowed away and ready for descent, but it's also when the parachutes fire. It's good to be able to see that visually, and to know that we're going to be safe. And with that, we're in the atmosphere. Very top of the atmosphere, but we are set to be on a collision course. It's a nice view out the side cameras. Get to see the curvature of the planet. Get to see the sun rising over it. Looking tiny, being massive. And because this is the Alcor pod, it has terrible heat management, so we are going to be going into a spin again, like we did before. If you have motion sickness, I recommend watching the heat gauge to the right, the top right. That is jumping up and down as we gather heat against the side of our pod. But by spinning, we are able to dissipate it so it doesn't hit one particular place too much. Not every command pod needs this, not every re-entry needs this, but when it comes to this pod, it's not rated for re-entry, so we gotta be a little bit clever with it. But with that, the Phoenix 2 is on its way home. The crew survived thus far. We'll see how if we can make it through this burning atmosphere, but everyone back on Kerbal is waited with excited breath. The Kerbal Navy is already heading out to the landing spot. They have the trajectory, so that way these Kerbals don't have to wait too long. And I have the ground proximity warning that refuses to shut off. It makes us feel like we're in some serious danger. So there's nothing really we can do but let it spin and deal with it. Oh, we've got low charge. That's why it keeps beeping. I didn't even realize that. And we are out. We are out of electricity. So I'm worried. I have no control over the ship. As you can see, it's starting to slow down. And there's nothing we can do except hope. We have our parachutes armed, but who knows whether or not that requires electricity to run. We're spinning a little bit, but as you can see now, we're slowing down enough that our pod is probably gaining a lot of heat. And we very well could just burn up in the atmosphere right now. But then we see blue light again. We know that we're at least moving in some direction. And then almost as quickly as they come, the flames dissipate. They leave us alone, and the heat of the craft is no longer a threat. So now it's just a matter of whether or not we can parachute our way down. If the chutes don't deploy, we might have to have the Kerbals jump out and parachute themselves down. We'll lose all the science, which will be a terrible shame, but our space agency will feel good about the fact of we didn't kill yet another set of Kerbal. We still have a memorial to place for the first three that we lost to the Mun, the Phoenix 1. And it looks like our parachute has deployed, as we are now rocking back and forth, pointed retrograde, the butt of our craft pointed down. And that might be it. We might be safe. So it's a matter of whether or not, when our chutes deploy fully, whether or not they can withstand the weight of the craft. But thankfully we're heading down in the water, so we don't have to worry about landing on a rocky surface and tumbling down, or hitting the surface of the desert or the grassland with so much force that we destroy the bottom of the pod. Which is why I always like to put a little something underneath the pod, be it life support or just an extra large heat shield, something to take that impact. And even though we're time warping, we're just still slowly coming down, because it turns out our parachutes were rated very correctly. We're coming down at probably about -6 meters per second. That's at least what we had in the test run. So, nothing to fear. Who is worried? No one's worried. And we're gonna rethink this craft. I think naming it the Phoenix and having the Phoenix 2 rise from the ashes of the Phoenix 1 might have been a little too close to home. Might have hit the nail too hard on the head. And we might have to forego the Phoenix model and come up with something different. But we're definitely going back to the Mun. We need that moonstone. We need that science. Maybe we'll go to one of the poles. That might be interesting, something new. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We've already got the next episode, maybe 2 episodes recorded. We do some tourist stuff. Just, take a quick break from the epic missions that we've been doing. And here we are. Everybody, we made it. We brought them home. There's very few things as gratifying in this game as successfully bringing a mission to its conclusion. And even though we didn't grab the Munstone, we managed to fling this piece of metal through time and space itself and pinpoint its position and bring us home. Anyways, that is where I'm going to be leaving you. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please consider giving me a like, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.